What's up? Welcome to Creative from Chaos. Tonight's video is going to be titled Why Men Are Not Motivated to Lead. You may have noticed in the last couple of days I haven't said much. It's simply because I spent a lot of time gathering information to ensure that what I say would not be just based on information and knowledge I've gathered over the years, but would be based on data of people around me. And so everything that I would say tonight would not really be my words. The majority of it is going to be based on discussions I've had in the last 3 days or so. So we're discussing why men are not leading. We did a video before indicating just that, why men are not leading. Now tonight's video is why men are not motivated to lead. And to sum it up, there are three reasons. One is they don't have to. Two is they're not allowed to. And three is the world or the system that exists right now is not designed for men to. Now, speaking for myself, I haven't been faced with such an issue simply because all my life I've known me to always be a leader in anything I've done. So I've never been a follower in any regard. There's no one I know who can make reference to me being a follower of anything. I remember being called to smoke pot with some friends in a park, and I was the only guy out of about 20 that said no. And I was laughed at. But peer pressure has never been something that affected me. Thank God for that. So there are some men, very few men, it's between 3 and 10% of men who are naturally born that way and we lead. Have I been emotional and have I been moved off of my emotional center? I think we all have. But as time goes by, I have been able to control it. So there are two things I want us to be able to differentiate tonight. There's a difference between a man not leading or being motivated to lead and a man being moved off his emotional center and being more in his feminine. That scenario there is based on circumstances that he would not have been able to control properly, would not be aware of a number of factors. So we need to be able to distinguish them both. The problem is, most men who are not leaders are likely to be placed or found in their emotional centers. There are very few men who what we'll call very silent men. But most men who are not leaders or not leading or not naturally born leaders are easily found in the emotional centers. They're very emotional. Now, the thing is, even a conversation I was having with someone just recently, talking about just about 15, 20 minutes ago, and the question that was asked was, isn't relationships 50-50? Now, just the fact that that question was asked, yeah, a number of things wrong there. A relationship between a male and a female is never 50-50. And the fact that one would even assume that a relationship would be 50-50, it speaks volumes. So, for instance, two people coming into a relationship should bring all of themselves. I wouldn't even use 100 because most people don't even know who they really are. So they can't really bring 100%. And a lot of times I've seen in most couples I've actually been talking to, both parties don't really know really and truly who they are. And what has happened there is that both parties come into a relationship damaged, both looking for love. That's another problem. The other problem that we face is that people come into a relationship to find love and be loved. So what we have is we have women who are asking for divorce 75% of the time. And the number one reason women are asking for a divorce is because their words are, I am not happy. At no point in time should one go into a relationship thinking that in a relationship you're going to be happy. If you're happy in a relationship, then it's a bonus. But a relationship is more to build you. It's more to be able to give to yourself. Never compromising, but always sacrificing. And that is what is going to be able to allow you to grow. The more you sacrifice is the more you're going to love that person, because it means that you're giving up part of something that you want for yourself. So you're becoming more and more selfless. What we have in scenarios now is that most people aren't selfless. So when I get into a relationship and I'm a husband, No matter how my wife treats me, I'm going to be a husband to her. I didn't get into a relationship on the basis that I'm going to be a husband to her if she's a wife to me. I decided to get into a relationship and marry her because I'm supposed to be a husband to her. And regardless of how she behaves, I'm going to be a husband to her. The problem I've found and heard in recent time is that you would find a lot of women especially saying things like they're not a slave. So what has happened in my experience and my understanding, what I see on a daily basis is a woman has an expectancy for a man to be the man of the old. She wants to be protected, she wants to feel safe, she wants to feel loved, she wants him to put her first, which she really never really wants. If he does that, it means that she's going to lose respect and love for him. But she wants that. She will tell you that she wants a man to put her first. She wants to feel secure. And now, because of the fact that she's working in the world, she wants more of his emotional affection and time. So she wants more of him because she needs him, more of him to get her emotions to allow her to be able to reach back to equilibrium or having her emotional center or hormonal balance. So the problem is this. I indicated what the three items were before. And so a lot of times when a relationship is not going well, what you find is the man gives less and the woman gives more. What she really needs to do is give less, and what he needs to do is give more. But both parties you find actually do the opposite. She thinks by giving more, she's going to get subconsciously it's going to make her feel better about herself, and she's also going to please her husband. And he thinks that she doesn't appreciate and she doesn't really accept him, and so he has checked out and he's given less. The man's duty is always to penetrate or give, and the woman's duty is always as a receiver and a nurturer. So right there we see that most times in a relationship, because of lack of or poor communication, both parties are given less than they're supposed to. When I say earlier that a man also does not feel doesn't have to, it's simply because for somewhere along the line from the 1960s come up, women have told themselves that if he is not going to do it, I'm going to do it. And it's the most dangerous thing a woman can do for a number of reasons. One, a woman diffuses a man when she says that. Guys, let me tell you something. If you are thinking that your man is not reaching the mark, you are depolarizing him. And I will use that word always for you to understand it's really that serious. So when you're thinking it, he can feel it, just like you can if he's feeling something. I remember telling a girlfriend I was with at the time, when a man comes home and he's drunk, do you think he just decides to hit or abuse a woman as he comes through the door and he looks at her, he just abuses her? What he feels is a vibration. He gets her, and she could do something very simple. She can breathe very light that the average person wouldn't hear, and he's going to pick it up because he knows every detail about her. Especially if he's intoxicated, his senses are weakened, but a lot of his senses are actually heightened at the same time. And I'm not making an excuse as to why men should or have done it. I'm just showing you that a lot of times, because we are thinking something, it comes out. For instance, if I'm in a relationship with someone and they ask me a question or they don't ask me a question and I lie to them, it's affecting the relationship without both parties knowing. Something inside of me is telling me something is not up, subconsciously, and slowly it's affecting me. But she knows it, so it's also affecting her. And he's feeling it, but none of them are actually dealing with it. And over time, what happens is that also affects the relationship. So when you look at it holistically, there are a lot of things that actually aren't said. The majority of things are based on body language and what is said before anything else. But most of it is based on what is not said, just body language. And one of the biggest reasons this is happening is because whatever has happened in the past, a woman now comes to the point where she thinks as soon as she hears the word submission, it's as though someone tells her she has cancer. But what is mind-boggling to me is that with everyone I speak to, she doesn't want to submit. Most women hate that word. They don't want to submit at all. They don't like the idea that a man should be above them or lead in that relationship. But then she wants the very same thing that she doesn't want at the same time. So if she's inside and there's a noise outside, if she's getting up to go and check the noise before him or with him, it tells you right there that she's off-centered. And I know it sounds weird, and I know a number of women are actually going to say no to this and reject it. But what I will say to you in response is these statements come from a number of women as well. And the women who are able to understand this are the ones who are not complaining about men not leading in relationships. They're complaining about other issues. So the women who are actually saying things that is not true, they're either not in a relationship, in a bad relationship, or their husbands aren't leading. And they think the relationship is actually well because they're so masculine and the husband has become so effeminate that what happens is that the relationship is working because someone always has to lead. But she will ultimately never really be happy because she doesn't understand what her real center or her real core is. And so over time, it's going to actually stress her out. And these are the reasons why you find women, especially women of black ethnicity, would find themselves having high levels of cancer and things like fibroids or diseases that really affects their health. And again, it's not something that is very easy to accept. It's new to a lot of people. But what you think and how you react, everything that you do affects your hormonal levels. Everything. If you just simply think right now, with the same scenario, you losing your apartment and you say to yourself, or you losing your home and you say, this may be for good, something better is coming. It's a different level of hormones that are going to be released for the same issue, opposed to if you say, oh my God, where am I going to live tomorrow and allow yourself to be emotional. Right there, you have two totally different extremes of hormonal imbalance happening. And one is probably more good for you and the other one is bad. And it's just a matter of thought. So if that is applied throughout, then you could understand where a lot of things are actually happening. For instance as well, if a woman is telling a man, could you take out the garbage? Opposed to, would you take out the garbage? A lot of times women say that they don't want to pamper men. But I know for a fact that women are very much more emotional and sensitive to words that are said to them than men. But you must understand that a man is also a human being. Again, you want him to be this man, be manly, be alpha. But when he's acting alpha, like I just spoke to someone less than 10, 20 minutes ago, and their statement was directly from a woman's mouth, women really say they want an alpha until they really get an alpha. Eh? That's what was said. And so it's not something that I'm making up. It's something that I've actually experienced. I've experienced women saying that they want a spiritual man, but most of the women that actually want a spiritual man has never read a single book in the Bible or have never read the Bible in its entirety. So how do you want a man that is spiritual when you're not reading scripture? So again, a lot of things that women actually say they want, they really don't want. What happens is that this is a psychological statement or position that has been infused over time in as a statement of what women should want. It doesn't necessarily mean that they actually want that. And a lot of times when a woman actually says this is what she wants, as I say, she really don't want it because she doesn't know what she wants. She doesn't know herself. You can only decide what you actually want when you spend time to find yourself. You see? So when a man doesn't have to lead, it's because women have taken it upon themselves to say, I'm going to lead. Now, what was also said by another woman, friend of mine, a week ago, and I really appreciate her honesty because she gets it. And only 3% of the relationships in this world actually really work. More than 75% of them, as I said earlier, ends in divorce, and there are 10% remaining that is also depolarized. And between that 85%, what you find is there are between 5 and 10% of relationships where the people are just simply together, simply because it's economically advantageous. So it means that if we were to go apart, we would have to split up a home and split up cars and accounts and whatever. So they decide to stay together. And what happens within such relationships, either the male, female, or both of them actually cheat on each other. And so it's not even really a relationship, it's more of an understanding. Only 3% of relationships actually spend time building relationships and understand that someone has to lead. It's impossible for both parties to be equal. Any relationship that is equal means that the woman is leading. It's very simple, guys. Any relationship that a woman says that she's in, or a man says that he's in, just look at it. What I do every single day, all the time out, it could be a supermarket, it could be looking at by the gas station, wherever it is. I look at people, and you see a lot of times the woman is walking in front. It tells you a lot of things. A woman who has done a big chop, for example, she is not the same as a woman who has worn a low cut hair for a length of time. Just go around the people you know. Look at the women who have decided to cut their hair low and tell me if they are submissive. You would see that women who have cut their hair low, now nothing is absolute, but you would find 9 out of 10 times women who have decided to have a low haircut are very much in their masculine and they lead in their relationship. Conversely, men who have long hair would normally, for a number of occasions, unless it's a religious thing, they are also being led by women because they are a lot in their feminine. And this is just what happens. It comes off on the outside. So you see a number of times if a couple is walking together, especially if they're holding hands, and it just look and see whose hand is over whose, you will be able to tell who's actually in the relationship. But a lot of times when they're holding hands, it's the man who's actually in the relationship. Now, if a man is hands is on his woman's back, it means that this man has a huge level of insecurity. So there are a number of factors based on body language that you can look at, but you have to know these things in order to be able to assess it. So as I was saying, if you tell a man, could you take out the garbage opposed to would you take out the garbage, he is going to be responsive to would you take out the garbage. What you're saying to him there is, I know you are able to, and so whenever you feel like you can, take out the garbage, please. Now, if you say to him, could you, what you're actually telling him is, I am not really sure if you can. And guys, let me tell you something. Don't say that the guy is very delicate and men are so soft and stuff like that. What has happened is men throughout time in growing up would have experienced their friends challenge them and say things like, I know you can't, I bet you can't, I bet you can't, I bet you can't. So when he hears could you, it's like a challenge to him that is wired into his DNA because it's coded there. It's not really his fault. It's just what he has heard, and it activates a particular part of him to go into defense mode naturally. Conversely, if a woman has decided to take out the garbage while she's in a relationship with a man, her mind and mindset is changing almost immediately. And there's a thing called myelin that continues to develop in the brain and its wiring based on what you do daily. Now, if she's not in a relationship, she understands it's based on it's based on the fact that she needs to survive. Okay, so it's a totally different thing that if she's in a relationship, there comes a point where there's an expectancy, and so she reacts and behaves a particular way. And so these things are very clear cut. Now, the third thing I want to say is this: the world that we live in, women have been asking for equality. And the world that we live in is not equal. And so women are put on a pedestal in the world based on legislation. You could name it. The foods that we eat on a daily basis are designed also to reduce men's testosterone. So women, ladies, let me tell you this. What a man actually has to fight for and why he's not motivated based on all the things I've said before, And this third item, which is that the world is not designed for a man to win, but he's expected to win. It's like a battle that is happening. And so if you look at the legal system, as I said before, or you look at the television, you would see that men are supposed to be weak. And so what is being asked now is of men is be emotional and be open and be vulnerable. Guys, let me tell you something. If a man is super emotional and vulnerable, he's not going to be also the alpha male that you want, and he's not going to be able to effectively lead you. So, for instance, if a man and a woman is married and they're both each other's best friends, while they can love each other and the relationship can work and they will stay together, the relationship is not exciting. The polarity in the relationship is very, very weak. And it's simply because somebody has to lead, and it means that she is being more the leader than he is being the leader. And no woman really wants that. So her libido is going to drop because he's not able to get her estrogen where it's supposed to be. Because she goes through 3 or 4 cycles every month during her monthly period, which moves with the moon, she is going through different phases. And she would require him to activate certain hormonal imbalances in her at different stages of that month. You see? And so women will tell you sometimes they don't want to speak, they don't want to go anywhere, they don't want to do some things, and then they will tell you they are very sexual during a period of time. They want to go and hang with and go out. They would like to go to certain places, and they would like to be pampered at particular times of the month based on those hormonal balance. Now, if all these things I'm saying, ladies, are true, then it means that the other side I'm saying, which subscribes to men, are also true. And so men's responsibility is to be able to is to penetrate the woman, long and short, is to get that woman hormones balanced all the time. Now, the problem is he's not motivated to do that, because a lot of times women are not allowing men to go into their caves or have that time away for themselves. So he wants to go to the gym. What you hear a lot of time is, do you have to go to the gym today? Now, women would not understand that the reason they are saying that to the men are because they are so much into their masculine, they are challenging him, 1. 2, because he loves you and he's a logical thinker, he's going to come to the point of trying to understand that that is what he needs to do, stay home, and he's going to stay home. Now, what is going to happen? He's not going to go to the gym as often over time as he used to. He is now going to become less attractive to you because he's not as fit as he was. And then that now becomes another problem that you have to deal with. Then comes the point of where you're feeding him the very things that are dropping his testosterone, because as much as people say that they love their partner, women must understand that if they are the ones that are cooking, they have the responsibility to understand what they should give to their partner to eat and what they shouldn't give to him to eat. Because men and women are different. You find that men die at an earlier age because he has not been able to have the sustenance that he's supposed to have to be able to live longer. So he's weaker than he's supposed to be because of what he's putting in his body. And then when you look at what she's telling him and what he's putting in his body, he is mentally and physically not being prepared to lead. So from a testosterone imbalance based on what the world is telling him, that he needs to be more soft, more vulnerable, those things in itself would affect his testosterone, because he is not supposed to be able to have you as the person he is talking to about his problems. And as much as women would not like to believe and hear this, he is not supposed to be telling you about his problems. He can tell you what problem he has, simply say, this has happened, and I'm going to do this to fix it. That is the conversation he's supposed to have with a woman. If he needs to actually rationalize something that is happening, he needs to have partners who are strong male partners like himself that he can speak to rationalize what is happening. Anytime he's doing it to you, you are depolarizing him. While it feels good to you and it opens up and you think it's getting him to be closer, it's also getting him to be less attractive to you. Because anytime your emotion is not engaged, he is going to become less attractive. and you can't understand what is actually happening. So you would move from having sex 3 times a day to twice, 3 times a month. And you would say it's based on the child, because you have a child now. That's not the truth. That's not what is actually happening. You are asking him to do stuff like change diapers and do stuff that is not at his core. And while he's a human being and a Homo sapien, that he's able to do it with great ease and be very good at it, it's not at his core. So because it's not at his core, while it feels good to him as well because he can, it's also affecting him because he shouldn't. Not because women have changed time or changed the way things happen over time means that the man is supposed to change as well. You are hurting yourselves by having your man do stuff that he's not supposed to. Then you want the same man to be the one to fight for you if you go out and there's a problem. You want him to be able to protect your family if someone is trying to break into your home. You expect him to keep the yard clean. You expect him to do stuff. But then when you are supposed to wash clothes or cook, you say it's slavery. Guys, listen, it's very simple. While I subscribe to women working, women should work only if they want to. And still, even if they want to, it's causing problems. That's why you hardly find on the road men use a lot of obscene language in traffic unless they are things like taxi drivers or something. You would find many times women are the ones who are screaming at the top of their voice because women are stressed. They're not operating within their core. So a lot of times, from the time she leaves home to go to work, her testosterone level starts to raise. And she speaks less at work. Men speak more at work because it's their center. In other words, if something is wrong at a job and her family is intact and she's loved and she feels happy at home, she will just simply see what is happening at work as a problem. You see? And it's something that she's not really going to stress her out because what is at her core is okay, it's stable. Conversely, when you look at a man, he can have a home that is very comfortable. Look at a basketballer, for example. If they lose a game of a championship and he comes home, his home is amazing, his wife is amazing, he has a great family, he's unavailable. Because work affects a man at his core. Because a man is supposed to be focused on his work. He's supposed to be focused on his purpose and his goal. He's supposed to be penetrating the world, not focus on his woman and raising a child. That's at the core of a woman. Now, okay, I get it that women feel of the view now that they shouldn't be the only person, and they shouldn't, but you should be the main person that is doing it. If you are unable to do it because you're extremely tired or you're ill, those should be the reasons you're not doing it. And what happens now in a scenario like that is, he realizes that you're ill, you're very tired, and if he is doing it on that basis, it's actually going to be raising his testosterone because it's not the act that he's now focused on. He's focused on, he's doing something that is going to make his partner happy, and in doing that, his testosterone is going to raise. So as long as his partner is happy or he's doing something that is making her happy, his testosterone is going to raise. So if a woman comes home and she's happy about something or anything at all, even though it has nothing to do with him, his testosterone is going to raise because he is going to think in his mind, at some degree, he had something to do with it. You see? So my point is, when a man comes home, his job should never be to tell you in detail what is actually happening with him. And women today are the view that they have to know. While you want to know and it's good for you to have a communication, he should know how to communicate it. Because if he's telling you too much, it's going to affect him negatively, even though he feels good at it. And the more he tells you, is the less you're going to respect him. And the less you're going to respect him, you're going to give out that energy to him without words, and he's going to feel it, and then he's going to give it back. And the purpose of a man is to decide how deep that relationship and that bond between both of you are. That's why when a man and a woman has sex, she acts differently when they had sex than before they do. In fact, in middle of of having sexual intimacy, you would find she would say a number of things that she has never said or haven't said in a while. A woman's responsibility is to fill the void or the depth of the space or the energy of the relationship. So when he takes it deeper, her job is to fill it, keep it exciting. Now, what happens most times are when a woman is not happy about something, she cuts out certain things, if not everything, especially sex, which is at the core of a man. And so you're telling him, sleep on the couch. You're not having sex with him because you're tired and you're turned off, because you're not in control of your emotions. And now what happens? He reciprocates by doing less, and you start to disrespect him, and he does less, and he starts to argue because his testosterone has dropped now to a zone where he has to defend, or he feel he has to defend, that he's no longer thinking about penetrating you and the world. He is thinking about holding his ground and challenging his manly identity. And so he's not feeling or motivated to lead, because most times, in fact, any woman or man I've ever spoken to, none of the men have said that their wives have ever said to him, you are my king and you must lead my family or our family to where it needs to be. I'm depending on you. None of them have ever heard their wives say, I get it, we both work, but your job is not to wash. Your job is not to wash dishes or wash clothing. You will never do that as long as you're my husband or my king. You would never do that. Your job is simply to go out there and protect and make sure that you lead us properly. I want you to focus on those things. Now think about if you tell a man that he's a king and you desire him to lead and you depend on him to be his best because you're counting on him and you know he can do it. Some women have been married 10, 20, 30, 40 years and have never told their husbands that. You see? But what is expected is that when he's proposing to you, he must kneel down and look up to you while he's proposing. So women want these very same things that was always been from a man, and some. So they want him to also be more emotional now and be more vulnerable now and do all the other things that he was doing before. But they now have decided that, and what you hear a number of times is that time has changed. Now, as far as I'm concerned, there were always 24 hours in a day, and the months were always running as their sunrise and sunset every 12 hours based on where you are. But for some reason, in recent times, in the last 50 years or 60 years, people have the view of that time has changed only in the last 60 years. So before that, when men were being men, granted, some men were abusing their wives and abusing what a leader is, that it has caused women to take a position. But the true problem is, and again, this was also said by another woman, the true problem is this. When men went away, and they came back, they were sidelined because women have decided at that time, we are not reverting to what we are supposed to be doing, or we are not reverting to what we used to do. We are now going to do what you want to do. We want to be equal. So, in other words, women are not really and have not really been asking to be equal from a gender point of view, even though it's been said. Look at the actual behavior patterns and you would see that women, and you can go and you can check it, women, especially women who are successful, have a harder time and being able to be in successful relationships. This is not the case for men. It's actually easier. And the reason is because the more a woman takes on a position like that, is the more masculine she gets because of her hormone imbalance, causes a number of issues. And so what you have in the long run is pain and suffering. How do we fix this? By women reverting to being who they are. I've been in relationships with amazing women, as I said before, and I've seen them hold very, very high positions in work, but also come home and would make sure that there is always something cooked. And I've never had the cause to had to wash any clothing or anything like that, or even sweep any part of the house. And that's huge because these are women who hold high positions who would work longer than the average woman who's saying that it's not they're no longer slave. And I've never heard any of them say I'm an independent woman. So when you look at that, the problem really and truly is not necessarily that women are working, it's that women have come to a point where they don't really understand what their core is and what their functions are and what actually gets them to be comfortable and back to their emotional center. And so because this has not been taught, simply because a number of mothers have been single, and what they have told their children or girl children to do, because they have been bitter and hurt, has damaged them. And because a number of men were raised also by single mothers, they were told to be different from how men are supposed to be, because the mother was scared that he grew up to be like the man who abused her. And because she doesn't and can't really understand what it's like to really be a man, she has raised him to be feminine or to be in his feminine frame more than he should be. So these are the real problems. These are the problems at the core of what a man is. And what we need to also understand, women, is every single thing you do affects the next generation of children that's going to come. So you can be rest assured, based on the world that we're living in and how women's behavior is continuing to erode relationships, that very soon relationships are going to be, marriage is probably going to be a thing of the past, or commitment, true commitment is going to be a thing of the past. Because when a woman is born, she's born with all the eggs that she has in her. And everything that she does, every man that she sleeps with, every decision, every thought that she has, it's affecting her DNA and her eggs that are in her. It's not about just when you are pregnant that you don't want to listen to the music, and everything you're eating right now is affecting those eggs and those offspring or possible offspring that you actually have. And that's why sometimes a woman could be with a man for 5 years or another for 3, but that child looks like the man that she was with for 5 years, even though if you do a DNA test, there is absolutely nothing that shows that there's a resemblance. Look at Maury. You see that Maury show all the time. She's a show because of look at the photo. He looks the same nose, etc. And then when you do the test, it's not the man's child at all. And then she runs out crying because she understands clearly whose it is. She was hoping it was somebody else's that she was with for a long time while she cheated. And this is the problem that we actually have in the world. And I made that reference just to prove anyone that thinks that it's not true. When a man orgasms, what he had in his bank at that time comes out of him, and he can start anew based on any time he has sex. It's different from a man's point of view. And women continue to think that they are equal to men, and you all are not. And until a woman understands just how powerful she is, the problem is really and truly, women don't know their strengths. I've seen many and interacted with many women who have talked about being Michelle Obama reading her book. Go and look at her story well. You looked at her story from her accomplishments, but you learned nothing really. None of the people have actually heard talk about Michelle Obama's book and her struggle. Had Michelle Obama not decided to tutor her husband and give up her own career to be submissive to Barack, she wouldn't be known by you right now. She'd probably be very successful in the US. She may not have been as wealthy as she is either. But she gave up, while tutoring him, she gave up her career, understanding her role. And if Michelle Obama could understand submission, she has never challenged or spoken bad of her husband, then why do you think that you, as a woman who is working a normal 9 to 5 for minimum wage, should be